Um, Great. So I don't think there's any pre-ramble that we need to really go through. I think we're basically all set to go here. Um, Anything that I need to know last minute before we get started into the problem?
No,
Okay, great.
thank you.
So we got about an hour for the session. How it's gonna work is we're gonna do, so we're gonna get right into the problem. We're gonna have, and this is gonna be like a real interview. We're gonna have about 45 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes or so, to solve the problem. Right. So I'm gonna encourage you to look at the time and manage your time accordingly. And then the last 10 to 15 minutes we'll go through feedback. So
Okay,
that's how we're going to structure it. And this will be, I mean, in a real interview, obviously, you wouldn't get feedback in the interview, but then you would do stuff like introductions, ask questions about the situation, etc. Right? So we won't do that. We'll just do feedback and solutions, etc. instead. Okay?
okay,
Cool. Um, okay, so for this problem, I would like you to design me a data structure that supports two functionalities. Okay? So the two functionalities is that we want to be able to add, and this, by the way, this is a dictionary data structure. So not like a hash map necessarily, but like an English dictionary. Think about it that way, right? It's like a word dictionary. Okay, and in this dictionary we want to support two functions. The first one is add word. So the first function is add word, right? It takes a word, a string as a parameter, okay, and you add it to your data structure however you want. Okay, the second, right, and okay, you can take your time, you can write that down. The second function is search. Okay, and search is also going to take a string word as a parameter. Okay, but it's going to return a boolean this time. Okay, and it's going to return true if and only if the word exists in the dictionary. If it has been previously added. Okay,
mm, that's it.
that's it for now.
Okay, perfect. So design data structure, it's going to be a word dictionary. We're going to be able to add a word to the string or add the string to the dictionary. And then, do you want this return anything or is void
It can
fine?
it can be void. It can return anything you want, but I don't care about the return value.
Okay, okay. And then search will just return Boolean true if the word exists in the dictionary. Okay, sounds good. And yeah, I guess we can get started. So I think the first thing this reminds me of is just a regular dictionary, like something like a hash map. That
Mm-hmm.
way you can check for the search operation will run in constant time. That will be very, very quick. And then that's also pretty simple to add in a dictionary. So we can do something like um, for the init, the initialization. Um, Actually, do you want an initialization function or?
So you can require one if you need, but I don't care about that. So that's up to you to decide. I only care about whether or not add word and search return correctly. So if you require
Okay,
me to, for example, provide something ahead of time, we can talk about that, but that shouldn't be required.
okay. I guess I can just put one here to now. That way I can keep track of the dictionary or the hash map that I'll be using.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, in this case, instead of using a hash map, I think a hash set might work better, just
Okay.
because there is no value that you're adding necessarily to the word just now. So let's do call it dictionary is equal to set. So this will just initialize what we need, and then we can define our new function with add word, and it'll take in a string, and then so for this, what it'll look like, we'll take our dictionary, and we're just gonna add string, which is the word. I'm actually gonna name this word so it's easier to understand, and that way we're just adding into the word or adding the word to the dictionary,
Mm-hmm.
and then the last function that we need is just search. So we're also going to take input of a word, which is a string, and then we're going to check return if actually if word in self dictionary. That means we're checking if the word is in a dictionary. Then we're going to return true, and then return false is the else case. I think this can be simplified into one line,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll just keep it like this for now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mhm.
Do you want to put these in the class so that the self makes sense?
Sure. Let's name it. We'll name it dictionary.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mm,
Cool. Okay, great. So that makes sense to me. Can you walk me through the time and space complexity of of each of the functions?
Yeah, so add word, it'll be a time complexity of O of 1 because you're just adding to the set. There's nothing else that you have to do. The search function, as well as also since it's a hash set,
Hmm.
you can hash it to the key, and then that's O of 1 time operation as well. The overall time complexity or the overall memory complexity of this will be O of n because dictionary will have just a set of all the words that are added to the dictionary.
And what is n?
N will be the number of words that you'll add to the dictionary.
Okay. Uh, that makes sense. Now let's modify the problem a little bit. Okay.
Hmm.
So now instead of search returning a boolean, I want your search to return the count, which is the number of times that word has been added to the dictionary.
So an integer, that's count, um, number of times the word has been added to dictionary. So I guess in this case, um, this is correct, right? This is what you want the function to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I guess in this case, we're assuming that a word can be added multiple times to the dictionary. So instead of using a hash set, we can keep track of it using a hash map, which will look something like this. And then we'll have to, instead of just straight up adding it, we have to check if it's been added before. So we can do something like if word in self dictionary, then we're gonna do self dictionary, and then we're gonna get the word, and we're gonna plus equal to 1. If it hasn't been added to dictionary, then we're just gonna add it to dictionary and then initialize it b0.
Hmm.
Okay. If word is in dictionary, we're gonna add 1. Uh, we're actually gonna add this to be 1, because that means it's been added once. Okay. If word in self dictionary, then we're gonna plus 1 to it. Okay. Sounds good. And then if word in self dictionary, then instead of returning true, we're gonna return self.dictionary word, which this will get us the count value
Hmm.
of what we've added and then maintain. Otherwise, if not, then we're just gonna return 0 in this case because it's not been added to the dictionary at all.
Yep. Does the time and space complexity change?
Um, let's see. I think add word is still an of 1 time complexity because you're only executing one of these statements. It's either going to be modifying the value of it, which is of 1, and then same thing here. You're just adding a new value, which is also of 1. Here is also of 1. So no, the time complexity does not change, and the memory complexity is still O of n, where n is the number of words you add to the dictionary.
Yep,
Or
that
in
makes sense
worst
to me.
cases, yeah, the number of words you add.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so now we'll ask a different follow up, which adds a little more complexity to the problem. Okay,
Hmm.
so now we're going to modify the definition of search again.
Okay.
So now, search once again returns true if and only if uh, the string exists. But there's a special rule that applies now. And the rule is the input string can contain a special character, let's call it period dot. Okay?
Hmm.
And just so because you asked this beforehand, I'll just give it to you now. All the words are lowercase alphabet. Okay?
Okay.
So now the search string can contain a special character, which is a dot, and the dot can match any character. So you can think of it as like a primitive regex.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and now with considering this new rule, now you return true only if the input string matches any given string, any string that's previously been added.
Okay. So if I get what you're saying is, let's say we've added um, like a b dot c to the dictionary. So if we're searching for a word like a b b c, this would return true because period can substitute for any character. And in this
Yes.
case, it would be B, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then if we did something else like A, B, B, C, this would also return true.
Yes, for that given search string, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. There can only be one special character, right? Or can there be, say, like a bunch of dots?
There can be a bunch of dots, but
Okay.
is there a reason you're asking?
Um, Not really, I guess. Just to write it
Yeah.
down in case there is some edge case in the future.
Yeah, there can
And
be
then,
unlimited number of dots.
okay. And then for the dots, let's say, would could they be substitute for, let's say, no extra character? Would,
No,
let's say,
they must map to exactly
yeah.
one character.
Okay, sounds good. And could there be a string with just a dot?
Just one dot? Yeah, that's a valid string. Yeah.
Okay, okay, sounds good. So let's see. And then with the special characters, it would be the same, right? So, if let's say I would to use a hashtag instead of the dot, would that be
No, so the
allowed?
only so the only valid so you can assume all the inputs are valid, and valid in this case means that it must be for the search string, that is, it must be lowercase alphabet
Mhm.
and or periods.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Contain a period. Okay, let's see. So I think one way we can map this out is, let's see. If we do just a dictionary and then we add it, that means we're adding the string which has the special character. In that case, it might not, it won't work as well because we'll be searching exactly for the string which will have the
Hmm.
character. We have to find a way where I guess we're also looking at the characters individually, so that if you see a dot, that means any character that we're searching up for can count for that. Um,
Yep.
so this kind of sounds like some sort of free data structure where we're implementing it so that uh, when we reach a dot, then we can just search for any character would suffice. So let's see. How a tree works is there's gonna be a root. So let me just I'm gonna change. Actually, I'll keep it called dictionary, but there's gonna be another data structure called uh, tree node, and then essentially what we're doing here is for each tree node,
Hmm.
we're gonna have children, which is a hash map of the 26 letters. So if there exists when you're adding a letter, then you're gonna hash A and then hash that to another tree node. So the key is gonna be the letter, and then the value of that will be another tree node. A can extend to another possibility of the next 26 letters, or I guess in this case 27, because period can also uh, be a character that follows. So yeah, and then we're gonna see. Um, Actually, I think that's all we need. So then to initialize the dictionary, which will utilize tree node,
Hmm.
all we're gonna do is just uh, call changes to the root, and then instead of initializing this as a hash map, since we've done it here, we can just call tree node, which will initialize the root as in the first set of letters. So in this case, A, and we're gonna initialize that with the rest of the tree node. Okay. So, um, instead of this, what it'll look like is we're first gonna, for each of the characters in Word, we wanna add a tree node. So let's call them, this means we'll have to iterate through it. So let's call our current to be equal to self dot root. Um, and then we're gonna do for character in Word. So with each of these characters, let's say we're given the character a b dot c, we're gonna have to initialize the tree node and then add it somewhere along the root. So it's eventually it's gonna look something like I'm just gonna draw it out here. We're gonna have like A, and then that's gonna point to, actually I'll do it on the same line. That's gonna point to B, that's gonna point to dot, and then that's gonna point to C. And then when we add future words, it can look something like, um, let's say we added the word AB. Actually, this might not be the best example. Let's say we added the word A P, then it's gonna look something like this. Okay, so for cur is equal to self.root, for C in the word, we're gonna add this to the children of this tree node. So I'm actually gonna change cur dot, we're gonna check if the C is, if the character that we're looking for is already exists already in it. If C in her her dot children. That means if this character is in the children, then um we're gonna go into that children, and we're just gonna keep going along. We only want to add characters that we haven't seen already. So in this case, I guess I'd actually do not in current children. Then we're gonna do her. I'm gonna add this to the hash map, which will look something like her dot children, and then C, and then we're gonna add a new tree node of any possible letters that might come up in the future. Okay, so let's see. So for each character in the word, if the character is not currently in the children, then we're gonna add the character, and then we're gonna add another layer of tree nodes that we can traverse. Okay, so since we added the next layer, then we can advance to the next characters, but that means we had to change our current to advance into this tree node instead of the root tree node. So then cur will equal to cur dot children C. This will allow us to go into this next tree node. Okay, and then I guess add word we don't need to return anything. So there you go. Okay, I think that looks right. And so something we can do similarly in search as well is also iterate through each character. And if let's say we iterate and then we find a period, then we can substitute that for any letter that is currently in this word. So I will move that down. And similarly, we also need to have a current to iterate through our tree nodes. And then for character and word, and then we gotta check if this character, if character is not in cur.children, this essentially means that we haven't found the character that we're looking for, and we would have to produce false. But we also have to check if and the period is not in children, not in her children. Because if there is not the character that we're looking for, but there's a period instead, we would have to look through the period's children, because that can substitute for anything. So in this case, if both the character is not found in the children and the period is also not found in the children, then we're going to return false. Otherwise, if we're going to check if cur not in children, or if the character that we're looking for is not in children, then we're going to check, that means the period is in the children, then we're going to change our current equal to cur dot children and then period. Otherwise, we're just going to do cur is equal to cur dot children C. So if this ever evaluates to true, then we know that there is a period, because this wouldn't have evaluated to true.
To be
Okay.
specific, there's a period where.
Sorry, what do you mean?
So your first condition is testing there's a period in cur.children, right?
Mhm.
So your second condition is basically saying that cur.children has a period.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
yes. That means the character doesn't exist, but the cur.children or the period exists. Period exists.
In cur.children.
Yeah, and then otherwise, if in cur.children. Otherwise, if the character doesn't exist, or if the character does exist, then we can just go through the character.
Okay.
Character exists. Go to character. I'll move this to the line above. That's easy. Actually, here. Okay. There we go. And then if once we've reached the very, very end, that means we've searched for the word and um, we've searched for each character in the word and it somehow has not managed to return false, then we can return true in this case. And yeah, I think this is
Okay.
all. Yep.
Can we go through an example? Can you can use your example that you gave above with the
Okay.
with those
Sure.
two, yeah.
So we've added a
tell me what words you've added and tell me what the search word is.
Okay. So let's just add ab.c to
Okay.
it. And then we're gonna search for ABBC and ABDC.
Okay.
So I'll put it up here. Okay. So add word A B.C. And then this will get us something like, so for current is equal to self.root, and then for character in the word, we're looking at the first character A. If A is not in cur.children, it is not because we have not added it yet. We're gonna add A, and then we're gonna assign that to tree node, which is another list.
Mm-hmm.
So this looks something like that. Okay, and then we're gonna change our current into point at the current children. So now it's pointing at A's hash map children values. Okay, and then now our second iteration will be, I'll do like this. Okay, so to say that it extends off of that, and then actually, I think I'll just do it by line. Might be easier. So now we've explored the A's children as the current. We set that as the current, and we're gonna check for the next character in the word, which is B. So we're gonna ask, is B in the current children? And B is not because it's an empty hash map. So then we're gonna add B, and we're gonna assign another tree node to that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what the next character looks like.
Okay.
Character iteration. Then we're gonna change, instead of looking at. By the way, can you see what I'm highlighting?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. Okay. So current was originally pointing to this. Now we want to add the next letter, which is going to point towards B's children. So we're going to set cur to equal the cur.children of B, which is pointing at that. And we're going to add dot. Then we're going to add dot, and then since dot is not in it, we're going to add dot, and then add the children for that. Last but not least, we're going to adjust the current to equal to the children of dot, and then we're gonna add the last character C, since it's not in it, and then we're gonna add the hash map of values for that, the children for C. Okay, so this is what our current dictionary looks like with the tree nodes. And now we're gonna search for A, B, B, C. Now we're gonna search for search A, B, B, C, and this should return true. Okay, so let's start. So we're gonna start current as the root, and then this is what the root looks like. Technically, this can be like children. That's what it will look like.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're gonna start like here, and then we're gonna check if first character, we're gonna iterate through the string character by character. If the first character is in the root, then we're gonna check. We're gonna go down that. All right. So if character not in children, nope. We see that A is in the children, or A is in the uh is in the root.
Mm-hmm.
That means we're going to the first one executed to false, the second one also executed to false, and so since the character exists, we're gonna adjust our current children, and then this will get us something like um something like this, and then this will look like children. Okay, so current is now adjusted to A's children, which is B, and or it's this hash map. So we're gonna check if B, which is the next character that we're looking for, if B is in A's children, and it is right here. So then, again, the first statement executes the false. The second statement also executes the false, and the third statement will be the else case.
Mm-hmm.
Since it is in it, then we're gonna look through B's children. So then it'll look like this. Okay, perfect. And then so now we're gonna be on to B. So we're looking for the second B in this.
Yep.
So we're gonna check again. If this second B is in cur.children, it is not. So this part executed the true, but this part did not execute the true because there does happen to be a dot here.
Yeah.
So because this is gonna execute the false, and then this is gonna execute the true because B is not in it, but dot is. So that means we're gonna look through dot's children, and then we're gonna look through dot's children, which is C, and then finally the last character will be C. If C is in the dot's children, it is. So then that's the end of the word. So we don't need to look through anymore. And I mean, we can we go into C's children, but then our for loop ends. And once our for loop ends, it means it's never returned false for the time being. So it's going to return true. And then this will return true at the end.
Okay. Can we go through the time and space complexities for both functions?
Yeah. So in this case, the time complexity will be for the character of the word. We're gonna do a for loop for each character in the word, and then we're also gonna essentially go down it, create a new tree node, and then add it to the hash map. So this will be O of n, where n is the length of the word for add word,
Mm-hmm.
and then search will also be something similar like that. Since you're also iterating through each character in the word and doing a bunch of comparisons, it'll also be O of n, where n is equal to the length of the word. And time complexity is a little more complicated. Basically, the maximum amount of...
Were we talking about time or space there?
Oh, sorry. Memory complexity, space complexity is a little more complicated.
Previously, you were talking about time or space?
Space.
Previously, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So space complexity is a little more complicated. For each tree node, you're going to basically add a tree node for every layer of, I guess, characters that you're going to add on. So if there's 4 characters, then there's going to be 4 layers of tree nodes. And for each of these layers, there can be 27 tree notes because there's 26 letters in the alphabet, and there's also a period that we're gonna add as a special character. So technically, if I were to simplify it, this children could be like something like A, some number, and then B, and then the rest of its children, et cetera, until the very, very end. So it's gonna be 26 to the power of how many n there will wait, sorry. It'll be the tree will grow exponentially. So a good way to picture
Okay.
this is how do I explain this? I think it'll be O of the time complexity will be 26 for each layer, which will be 26 to the power of n, where n is the number of letters in the word. So this is the maximum time complexity or maximum space complexity that it'll take, assuming that, let's say, a letter will have all of its children filled, and that'll have all of its children filled.
Is that a good assumption?
Mm, it's not a good assumption, but this is the worst case.
The
Space
worst
complexity.
case. Okay, worst. And what is n again? Can you remind me what is n?
N is the length of the longest word that exists in the dictionary.
Okay. So that's the space complexity, and then can you just summarize again? What is the time complexity of both functions?
It'll be O of n, where n is the length of the word that you're adding.
Is
or
that for
searching.
is that for add word or search word?
Uh, it'll be O of n for add word,
Okay.
and O of n for search word, where n is the length of the word.
Okay. Great. Let's go on to so there's one thing there's one thing I wanted to point out, but you were on a good streak there, so let you finish. But there is a detail here that we want to now I guess I'll ask as a follow up, and that is that you made a false assumption in your setup over here, right? So the first thing is that the search word, which is the input to the search function, it can contain periods, right? The input to the search can contain periods.
Oh, so
Okay.
as in, let's say, if we added a b dot c, we can
So
also
you
check-
can't add ab.c because all the words are lowercase characters.
Wait, sorry, what do you mean?
So all the words all the words that are added to dictionary are only lowercase characters.
Mm-hmm.
So ab.c is invalid because dot is not a lowercase character.
Oh, okay. So in this case, what you're saying is,
So what I'm saying is that
for
you can add abbc and abdc, 'cause those are valid words, and then
oh, okay.
ab.c can be the input to your search.
Oh, it's only for a search.
That's right.
Okay, I see. So, I mean, I think in this case, um, the only thing that we'd have to change is when the character
Mm-hmm.
in the search function, when character, we can do an if function. If character is equal to dot, then we can just go down. Then we would have to do another for loop for all of its children. And it'll kind of be something like backtracking where if the children for that one, for that one character that we go down doesn't exist, then we have to go to the other children. Uh, here.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
want to write that down in the code?
yeah. Do you want me to like write
Yeah.
the code again or
Yeah,
just
write the
inform?
code again. So to
Okay.
make it work in the original case, yeah.
Sure, sure. So essentially, what we need to do is for our character in Word, not in character. Okay. Our first condition will be if c is equal to dot. That means we'll have to do another for loop for what would be a good iterator for this? For something in cur dot children. Let's see what's a good word. I could do for child in children. Okay, so we're gonna have to iterate through each of these for child in children. Okay, for child in children, and
Mm-hmm.
then uh, actually, I think oh, this is fine. Then we can call the function again to search for the rest of the word. Mm, I'll do pseudocode here for now. Search for the rest of the word. And then essentially, if true, then we can return true. If it's false, then that means just we have to check all the other childs in the children. So we don't necessarily have to return false immediately. We'll only return false at the very end. If none of the childs work. Okay. So then the code over here, what would happen is if if C is not in cur.children, that means we'd immediately return false instead of looking through the period. Okay, and then otherwise, if it's not a period, if it's also in children, then this would return false, and then this would evaluate the false, and then we can just look through the cur.children. Okay, so it seems like this part is right. Now we just have to figure out how we can search through the rest of the word in the for loop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's see. For child in cur.children, we can do something similar like this. We can, as just uh, just as easily, um, I'm gonna set a new root to be our current, and then this way, if when we're iterating through each child and we're using current, then we don't have to and let's say the first child is false, then we can set our current back to the new root and then try that again.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
for child in children, we can check similarly if uh, if C is um I'm thinking right now because like I can implement the like this part as well, but what if there's another period? It wouldn't be efficient to just keep writing this for the rest of eternity. So maybe some way to add it to implement this recursively would be a lot easier. Instead of because we can expect more than one period in
Yeah,
here.
that's right.
So for child in cur.children, I guess the easiest way to like somehow implement it recursively, do this. We have to change the word so that it's not the same word that we've already searched for. It's only the new word that we have left.
Yeah.
So the some way that we can do this is keep track of the indices of how many characters that we've already like bypassed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that way it's uh, that way we can just use like a splice substring. Um, so I guess we can do something like I, which is the I that we're on. We can let's just do this. I is equal to 0. If it does get passed, then we can do I plus equal to 1. And then let's say if we're looking for A, B dot C, then we can do A, that'll be plus 1, B plus 1, which is 2, and then the dot, which will get us to here. It'll iterate starting at 2. So 0, 1, 2. Okay, yeah, that looks about right. Word, and then like this. Okay. So search for then gonna search for this word, but note that we also, since we're starting not directly at um we're not starting directly at uh, the beginning of the word. We also have to start at the children of something that we've already reached. So I think in this case, we'd also have to pass in another parameter to indicate what children we're going to look into. So, do you want me to implement this by adding it, like, by just adding one parameter, which is word, or can I add another parameter
You
that we
can
can?
add over the parameters. That's fine.
Okay. So then, um, we're gonna just do children. So cur is equal to children. That means when we call initially for a search, let's say we search a b dot c,
Hmm.
the children that we're gonna pass in here is just gonna be the root, and then when we modify it here, then we're just gonna do cur dot children. Um, that means this will be our new root, which was what we'll look into, and so with this our new root, then we're gonna set that to be a root, and then look in that children. Okay, so seems like this, right? So now we're just gonna do the last function or last part of our pseudocode, which is if true, return true. If this returns true, then we're gonna return true, and then return false if nothing works. So that this way, if we encounter another period, then we can go down it. For child and for children, it seems like okay. So this is not being used right now. Um, let's see, and this is also not being used. I think we want to look through each of the childs that exist in here. So instead of looking for the first character that starts, so the dot, we want to look through I plus one, and then child or cur dot children child. That way we skip the dot and then we look into what could be instead of the dot. So if there's an A there, we would look through A's child. If there was a B there, then we look through B's child. And then we wouldn't have to look through A. Oh, it just
Yeah.
skips it.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. And then we would have to new root. It seems like we don't actually need to use this because we're already passing in the current as into a function call again. So that's where current gets modified instead of having to remodify it up here. So it seems like this is fine. And then, yeah, I think this should work. Let's go through an example of we search for.
We don't quite have time for an example here, so let's skip
Okay,
that.
that's fine then.
One thing I want to ask is, what if the period is the last character of the search term?
Okay. If the character is the last search term, let's see. The character is equal to period. Um, let's say for in this case, if there is a period in the last search term, and all we need to do is to figure out if it's valid is if a character exists in the children at all. Because if it does exist, that means we know that there is a character that we can go down, but that's uh, there's nothing else we have to worry about. So we can instead do if the character is equal to period, that means we check if this character is also the last one. So if I is equal to length of word minus 1. Um, actually, the reason why I deleted this is because since we're updating I, we're not actually sure if the the length of the word, because we're splicing that if the length of the word um is actually gonna be within the range of the I.
What would
Hmm.
it not?
Because let's say our I is always going to be incrementing, but then the length of the word will sometimes get smaller. And so if we're doing I is equal to the length of the word, then um, we wouldn't be comparing two values probably. I guess a good way to do this, if it's greater than the length of word, that means we know that um, hmm, that means that we know that it's past, we've shrunk it, and it's actually I don't know if this would get it. Hmm. So we need to figure out somehow if the character, if the period is the last character. Hmm. I'm trying to think if there's any way to identify if this period is in the
Mm-hmm.
is the last character in the word. Because if it is, then we can just return true if any letter is in cur.children. So I guess if
Yep.
cur.children is not empty.
Yep. Okay,
Hmm.
that's fine. We'll move on. With this updated search function, can you tell me the time complexity?
The time complexity will be, um, let's say, it'll be n for the length of n as in where n is the length of the word. But since the worst case complexity will also be if search will be ran every single time, that means for each of the 26 letters, you'll have to go through each of them and you're searching with a word with a bunch of periods. Then it'll also be similar to you're essentially looking through every single possibility,
Mm-hmm.
which will be like our memory complexity, space complexity, which is O of 26 to the power of n.
If you're look, so the space complexity is, sorry, say that again.
The space
Okay.
complexity is O of 26 to the power of n,
Okay. And n is
and
what?
then n is the length of the longest word, and then search is going to be also O of 26 to the power of n, where n is the length of the word that you're searching for.
Sorry, is that the time?
Yeah, that's the time.
Okay, 26 to the power n. Okay. Um, is this because we have an unlimited number of periods? What if I said there's at most one period? Would that
If there is
change?
at most one
Yeah.
period,
Yeah.
then it would just be 26 times n, where n is the length of the word. 26 as in you only have to just look through all the possibilities once, and since O of 26 times n is just simplified to O of n. If there's only one period, then it would just be O of n.
If it's just one period, it's O of n. Okay. Well, okay. What if there are two periods?
Um, I guess it'd be 26 to the power of 2 times n. So it's okay. I guess you want me to do the add another variable for the number of periods.
That could be helpful.
So we can do O. I'll write it down here. O of 26 to the power of m times n, where n is the length of the word and m is the number of periods that exist in the word.
Okay. And if there are zero periods and it's constant time, that doesn't quite make sense.
Oh, it should be times n. Okay. If there's 0 periods, it should be m plus n. Where okay, so if m has 0 periods, then it would just be O of n, which is the
Yeah.
length of the word.
Yeah.
N is length of word, and then m is number of periods. Number of
Right.
periods,
But
and
in your
then
case here, if you have, because you can have in periods, right? So that's where 26 power of n comes from.
yeah, 26 power of n.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then anything greater than like just O of n would be the O, like this part would be cut off
Yep.
if m is greater than it. Yeah.
Okay, let's stop here. Let's stop here and talk about today's session.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, first things first, I usually ask people, how do you feel like you did? What were things you feel like were good, and what were things you feel like were bad?
I'd say I feel like I did a relatively good job of explaining what I'm thinking of. I would say it's pretty clear to know where I was struggling, or I like expressed where I was struggling, and also uh, what I was doing well in. So I guess communication wise, I think I did pretty good. In terms of where I was lacking, I think maybe the technical side of especially like the time complexities and space complexities. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I got those mixed up sometimes just by the word, so it didn't like come out as clearly as I wanted it to be. I didn't
Yeah.
articulate as clearly as I wanted to be, and maybe like the very last part when I misunderstood the question. I think to avoid this misunderstanding, I could have asked a lot more questions on where the period was being like put and where it was like not being put,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So that
Yeah.
uh, I mean, you could find me at the end after I finish it, but I could have like saved a lot of time if I asked questions in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think we're quite aligned on a lot of those topics, but let me just give some feedback starting from the top.
Hmm.
So this is a LeetCode problem. I'm not sure I've seen it before, but this problem is basically about word searching with trees, as you have identified. Now, I did ask a couple base variants first. I won't go through those. Those are whatever. Actually, I will go through one, which is that um, in the count variant, it's usually preferable for counts to use for dictionaries. That is, for this case, to use like a default dict. Those can generally
Hmm.
clean up the problem a little bit. That's really not going to deduct marks, but if you're going to interview using Python and not using default dicts, the interviewer will doubt your proficiency in Python, right? So just be aware of that. If you don't know what those are, you can search them up. But I think that's a small detail.
Okay.
Now about the problem as written. So of course, the good thing here was that you did immediately start by doing some examples, and this is where you would have got bit is because you didn't label what strings or what inputs, right? So this would have been your first sign of a mix-up, right? So
Hmm.
in their case, you wrote these three strings over here, and that's fine, but you didn't write what variables these strings are equal to, right? So
Oh,
that's something you should generally do, especially with multi-input or multi-function problems, is to be very explicit on who's going where. So this is your first
okay.
kind of tip on that front,
Yeah.
right? Because one thing you'll say is that one thing that you'll notice is that at this point I wasn't aware that you were mixed up, because the problem here as written can be represented by what you have also produced as an example, right? So there's
Right.
no signal here, right? So that's the first thing, is to be more explicit about your variables. Now, of course, just because you got this mixed up doesn't mean that you necessarily will get the problem wrong, right? For example, the add word still functions the same. Now, you had 27 characters and 26, but it doesn't matter, right? But that
Yeah.
is the first sign you would have got something wrong, is if there was something that was dictating that, right?
Hmm.
Now, and your original implemented search was correct with your modified version of the problem. That wasn't the problem, right? And that wasn't really a concern. Now, what I will say about that initial implementation though was that the implementation was correct, and you did a pretty good job talking through it, but the analysis was still not quite correct. And the reason the analysis wasn't correct, and I'm talking about time and space, and the
Yeah.
reason I'm not saying it's correct is because the space complexity being 26 to the power of n is pretty far off. And the reason is because there's there's sort of a critical variable you're missing here in your analysis, and that is the
Hmm.
number of words added. The reason you
Oh,
cannot the
yeah.
reason you cannot encapsulate the time and space complexity with one variable, in your case the length of the longest word with 26. So you're actually technically correct. If you say n is the length of the longest word, your worst case
Yeah.
space complexity is 26 power of n, right? But that's not helpful, because to get 26 to the power of n actual space, you would need to add 26 to the power of n words,
Right.
right? That's the only way to get 26 power of n space complexity, right? So one
Yeah.
variable is insufficient to express the complexity here, even though you technically got
Hmm.
it right, but that's not actually helpful, right? So there's two distinctions there. Is it
Yeah.
correct and is it helpful? So you miss that, okay? Now you got to keep in
Uh-huh.
mind for problems like this where you can call a function a different number of times, or in this case, the intuitive ones you can add a word. You can even add the same word, for example, multiple times. I wouldn't change it, right? But you can add. There's many ways you can kind of call a function. You got to keep in mind the number of times I call a function is also a variable that you have
Mhm.
to capture that,
Right.
right? Otherwise, you're saying that they cannot call the function because you don't care about that. It's not a variable. They cannot call it, and it still incurs time and space complexity.
Uh-huh.
So that's where you got it wrong. Now that I say that, now that I say let's say in is the length of longest word, that represents the depth of your tree, which is
Mm-hmm.
in, right? And then you also have to encapsulate the number of nodes in your tree, and the number of nodes in your tree. And let's say we added m words, right? You have m and n, right? So the number of words in your tree, the space complexity is m times n, right? Now that's a lot more reasonable than 26 to the power of n. You see
Yeah.
that? Okay. So that's the first. So regardless of the problem, you still got the analysis wrong on that one, and that's quite a big mistake because you're using that space complexity, that space, that search space essentially, to inform the time and space complexity of your search function,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you have that cross dependency, of course, getting one wrong means you get everything wrong, right? Okay.
All right.
So that's the
Yeah.
first thing about space complexity. Okay, now moving on. About the actual implementation. And then we went through it. Now we fixed the understanding. Now we have it understood the correct way. Now, obviously, you fix it pretty quickly. That's good. And your implementation is correct. There's a couple edge cases I'm not like fully convinced by, but to be honest, it don't really matter. Um, the main thing is that you got you fix it up, and that's the important thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you did a pretty good job talking through the scenarios again, but again, one thing you got to realize is that when you're talking through scenarios, even if you understand all of the derivative scenarios, you have to make sure the interviewer also understands it, right? And the example I actually gave is what if the period is the last character, and the reason I said that was two reasons. First of all, is that your code actually handles it just fine as is, but you
Yeah.
didn't actually say that, and so just to test you, I asked that question. By the way, the
Oh.
other reason is because um, and I won't get into this too much, but typically speaking, when you want to modify the input function, the right way to do it is to make a separate helper function, right? Like a recursive helper or something.
Oh, yeah.
In Python, it doesn't matter because in Python you can set a default variable to be like none, right? And then the user can just not pass it in and it's fine, right?
Yeah.
And then you would just say if none, right? If children equals none, children. How to do this? Children equals self right? So this I can get around that. In Python, it's okay to do this,
Right.
but in most languages you can't. But beware that you don't want to add new mandatory variables. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Um, the other thing that was a bit I will point this out because you actually got tripped up on this, is that
Uh-huh.
just like default dicts, there's another tip you should be using, which is using enumeration. So this is what you should have done, right? So you should have done this,
Oh,
and then this would
yeah.
have given you the index, and that's how you should check it, right?
Yeah.
The reason I'm bringing this one up is because you actually got this one wrong. And what I'm saying by getting it wrong is that your original code, like you didn't need to check the indexes like right here necessarily, because the word when you splice the word, it actually makes a new string. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no notion of like global index. All the indexes for strings are relative, and so
Yeah.
your original check would have been fine. And you probably would have got that right if you had known that you could tie the index to the character over here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Okay, so that was basically the last piece of feedback. I mean, obviously, after we got that, you didn't fix the you didn't fix the space complexity because we didn't change add word. So your
Mm-hmm.
analysis was still incorrect at the end. But just be aware that you know the learning here really is first of all, make sure you capture all of the variables being used, and also make sure that when you're saying that the time and space of search or whatever function, right, in the future, if it relates to the time and space of another function, you gotta make sure that you're very careful about it. In this case, they are related, right? Like the search function using the same memory essentially as your tree, but that might
Right.
not always be the case. So just be careful about that when you associate the two together.
I see.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'll give you a bit of time here to ask any questions about the problem itself or about performance, any other things they might have concerning. So we can give you a couple minutes for you here.
Okay. Yeah. So, I guess in terms of like what I did wrong,
Yeah.
so space and time complexity, make sure that I encapsulate like the variables that I I guess in this case it'll depend on each other, depending on how many words you've added.
Yep.
Search will be different.
Yep.
And then, so that's one. And then number two is also, I guess like syntax, I guess mistakes where I could have done as enumerate, and also the this part where set a default variable. It'd be much better to just do a helper function, and also um, the default dictionary that you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another one. So space and time complexity, the syntax stuff, and then mentioning that or explaining that it would have passed, but uh, and asking if like asking the interviewer if they want an optimal solution for this one edge case or something like that.
I mean, it's sort of. I mean, in this case, the solution you had would have been optimal because you would have passed in an empty string for word
Mm-hmm.
because the index after the period is empty. So you would have
Mm-hmm.
passed an empty string. An empty string would skip this loop entirely and would return true anyways. So it'd be the same complexity. Um, but
Oh, okay.
you have to know that, right? Like if you don't know
Yeah.
that, you can't even comment
Right.
on that.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay. So make sure to like understand that sometimes they might not understand, so they're just asking like clarifying questions to see if you understand.
Yes, I mean, oftentimes the reason that interviewers will ask a question is not because it's very, very rare that an interview doesn't actually know the answer to the question immediately. Usually, the reason they ask is because they're not convinced you know about it, or
Mm-hmm.
you have a bug and they're trying to prompt you about it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see. Interesting. Um. Yeah. And then my question for you is,
Yeah,
I guess, uh, from this performance, how well do you think I would do like on an actual interview?
I think if you clean up the confusion with the inputs being mixed up there, you would have got time to fix your time and space complexity. Probably you probably would have got time to fix that. So
Mm-hmm.
that would have been I think that would have been a pretty good performance. As of right now, that really depends. The pass fail really depends on how much the company is weighing the analysis, right? If the company
Okay.
isn't really weighing that and they're looking for implementation skill, I think you got that no problem. But if they're
Mm-hmm.
really looking for like you didn't now analyze things correctly, I think this was a bit far off. Um,
Okay.
I mean, I think there's kind of like in terms of analysis, there's a couple levels, right?
Yeah.
I think the base level is identifying the variables you're going to use, and the second
Mm-hmm.
level is assembling the variables correctly, right? So I think if you're missing one of the two variables that you need to essentially analyze the problem, it's not if they care about that, that's not going to be a pass for that one. But I know a lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies they also don't, especially for more junior roles, they won't really be caring about that as much as just implementation skill. And I think if they're
Mm-hmm.
weighing that a lot more, then this would have been fine.
Okay.
But I think
In
you
terms
know,
of like,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. In terms of like, how to get the like how to get the time and space complexity or the analysis to
Mm-hmm.
improve upon that, what would be your like best recommendation?
Best recommendation on that one. I mean, there's kind of I see with that one interview I can't tell necessarily what the shortcoming is. Right. For example, this one
Right.
obviously you just missed a variable. You can't like what can you do? It's never going to be right. Right. So, um, in terms of identifying variables, the easiest one I would go do uh, is practicing on leak code. And the way you should practice is you should read the problem description, right? And then just go immediately find and this is better off done with problems you haven't seen before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Theorize what you think the optimal solution should be, and then don't even write the solution. Just write the complexity. Just straight up write the complexity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing you can do is if that's too hard, some people have a bit hard time visualizing the solution. Go find a solution. Go find a solution on LeetCode, and then analyze their implementation and find what the complexity is.
Right.
So for practicing that, you can start with the answer and then go from there.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. And do you have like the notes of like
Yeah,
your comments on? Okay, can you send that to me?
yeah, we'll do.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything
That's
else?
all I have. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much again for giving up your time over the holidays.
No worries. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Great one.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
Nice. Okay. Um, all right. All right, all right, all right. Let me go ping for the, what the hell? Where is this thing? Okay, okay, okay. Dun, dun. Where is my resume? Oh, here it is. Boom. Stream. Alrighty. What the hell is OBS doing? Open startup. No, don't do that. What the hell? Blah blah blah. Where's my stream? Here it is. Ignore recommendation. What the frick? Whatever. Okay. All right. Okay. Where's my spreadsheet? Here it is. Let me refresh this guy. What's the date today? Today is 12/28. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see. What are people saying? FR. Hi, FR. At Amazon, managers put employees on PIP if they come to know about internal transfer plans. Why didn't anyone tell me about this while I was there? So a couple of things here. First of all, I don't work at Amazon anymore, so I'm not going to be too definitive about this one. But I don't think that's always true. They come to know about internal transfer plans. I mean, every single person on my team knew about internal transfer plans. I was talking about them like every single time they came up. Like, oh hey, this is a cool opportunity. Who's gonna go here? That's more of a sign of an insecure manager who can't control their people. And if all of your guys are trying to transfer away from that manager, that's that's a different issue. Now that being said, obviously, if you suspect that your manager is that kind of person, or if you suspect that other teammates think of your manager that way as well, then yeah, it's obviously very it's beneficial for you to keep it secretive, right? And I mean, look, they won't really put you on pip for that. Usually, they'll put you on focus, right? Usually, they put you on focus, and then it makes it very, very hard, if not impossible. I don't know if it's impossible, but if you're put on focus, it's very, very hard to internal transfer, right? Pip is kind of end game. Pip is kind of end game. That's usually quite extreme, but focus is more common, I know, for that kind of stuff. Now, what did anyone tell you while I was there? I mean, I'm guessing that's a rhetorical question, but I'll answer it anyways. The reason people didn't tell you was because I'm assuming if you're on a team where, and by the way, I don't know if this is you're saying that your team or some other team, your friend's team, or you heard about this, right? But if you're on a team, third person, if you're on a team that has that sort of manager behavior, people are trying to get out anyways. And if you are on a team that is trying to get out of that, like you're not gonna sit around telling everyone about these warnings. Like no, like you're gonna maximize your chance of getting out. And that's not saying to throw other people under the bus, but it's saying that like you won't say anything at all. Like you're just gonna boom. One day I transfer, I'm gone. Where to submit resumes for review? They're in the pinned comment. Oh wait, the hell? Wait, you actually got a good freaking point. I linked the wrong fucking thing. My bad. My bad. Submit resumes. My bad. Yeah, I tweaked. Okay. Now the message should contain the Google form. Sorry about that. I will also say that, internal transfers, there's kind of like different types, right? Like domestic to domestic. There's international ones, etc. And depending on the internal transfer, you might need to get different levels of approval. And so if you're going for a high level approval transfer, you're gonna, like, your manager's gonna know about it, right? And so like you have, like, it is a game you have to play. So I mean, but I hopefully by the time you're in there, you can figure that stuff out. Frankly, career development and all these sort of related topics are your own responsibility to learn about, right? You can't count on people. You can't count on people telling you everything about it, especially if it doesn't necessarily benefit them too. And that sucks to say, but like that's just how it works, right? I spent 5 years at Amazon, and none of my mentors in other orgs teams ever mentioned about PIP firing quotas. HR also never told me. Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna. I mean, I don't really know what to say. I mean, Amazon and a lot of companies are known for having a firing quota. Like this is actually, I don't know about you, but this is like publicly known. Like this is known. I mean, this might even be known, better known outside of Amazon than inside of Amazon. Yeah, it's very common. I guess I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how you haven't heard of this. Unfortunate, but Amazon having a 5% to 10% pip. It's org dependent. For example, my org escaped a couple pips a while ago because we were like desperately trying to hire. But this is kind of common knowledge. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry to hear it, but that's how it is. I'm glad you know now, right? I'm glad you know now. But I mean, I'm sorry. I can't really help now, I guess. Anyways, we got a couple resumes, and so I'll still be reading chat, but I'm gonna get on with the show, So, let's get into this. Now, okay, first one. Let me take a look. Oh, you did not do a very good at redacting it. I won't lie. You know what I'll do is, because I'm such a kind person. Wait, can I hit escape? How the hell do I use this fucking UI? Oh, like this. Okay, let me see if this works. Oh, nice. Okay. Okay, so you didn't redact your name very well, so I'm gonna just redact it myself. Like, this is not really redacting. I just cut it off. Okay, so let me read the. Where's my spreadsheet? Here it is. Great. So let me go ahead and just read what's going on here. So your comment is, I'm going for cybersecurity positions, network engineering positions. Okay. Sounds good to me. Let's pick a color. Let's do like royal purple today. Yeah, I like that color. Okay, so your G2096 coming up. Oh, that's coming up. You're like third year. Yeah, second, third year area. It's concentrations that works. Okay, DSA, discrete math. Okay, experience. This is sort of recent. Oh, you had different font there. Your dash of different fonts. Be careful about that. I think you're missing a space here as well. Recent experience. This isn't more than a year old. This is about a year old. These are about a year old. Okay. How long was this for? This is for okay, like 4 months. So no projects for like 8 months. What is this? Activities and certifications. Steel Bridge Club. Oh, okay. Website stuff. Volunteer for Python. Okay. Okay. I'd say this is a bit. I mean, this is using up a lot of skill. We'll need to take a look at that's worth it or not. Okay. Okay. Coordinator. Interesting. Project plan, schedule, user allocation, goals, monitor, system preparation. Okay, this is fine. This is not technical, but if this is your only experience, I think it's fine. I would probably put this underneath your projects though. So this is not a relevant. This is not a relevant experience. I would put it underneath your projects, which are hopefully more relevant. Let's take a look. Okay, so we have a website here. No, sorry. Weather text here. What am I saying? Sorry, what am I saying? Develop the automated weather forecasting service. Open source APIs to retrieve accurate meteorological data. Okay, so I'll give you a little tip here in general, right? Adjectives like accurate don't mean anything here. Why is that? Because you're not producing the data. You're just pulling it. If they start producing inaccurate data, you wouldn't even know. So unless you have a way to actually cross-verify that the data is accurate, using adjectives like accurate don't mean anything, right? System employs RESTful APIs. API calls to process, deliver personalized data via SMS. Okay, a couple things here. I would say keep the tenses and the verbs consistent. So over here using developed. Over here I would use employed RESTful API calls, for example. Right. Other thing I will say is that you're saying deliver personalized weather updates. How is it personalized? Is it based on your location? Is it like how is that part done? Right. So I'll say this is a bit of a detail here they could definitely expand upon. Right now that doesn't seem relevant. Showcasing so present tense, but the product's already done. Right. So it's wrong tense. Proficiency API integration, data parsing automation. This point's a bit weaker because you generally want to show not tell. So I would say this point you can get rid of. Password manager, implementation of cryptography library. Of what library, right? Like what cryptography do you implement? MD5, SHA, etc. Right? Do you have a Diffie-Hellman? Even Diffie-Hellman's kind of cool, right? The reason I'm saying that why that's important is because if this is a personal project and not a school project, right? A school project, of course, lower standards. You kind of have to do what the prof says. Great, no one cares, right? If it's a personal project, then you can hold yourself to a higher standard. This is where you can kind of differentiate yourself, right? And so if you're implementing a cryptography library, I'll say two things first of all. The first thing is you're going for cybersecurity, and so you should definitely know this, right? Is that individual people should never, ever implement cryptography. Why? Because you are prone to writing bugs, right? And not saying there aren't bugs in professional libraries, but if you write your own library, you're basically saying that you're better than the people who write those professionally. And so when I'm going to say that, but here's the thing, right? This is a personal project. It's not like going to production. The way I would frame this bullet point and the way I would frame this project is I would frame it in the terms of an educational situation. Like you learned about, like you learned, implemented, and tested this kind of cryptography. That is something I would be more comfortable writing, because if you just write implementation of cryptography library, the first thing, especially someone who's knowledgeable about cybersecurity is going to ask is like, why are you doing that? Right? Why are you doing that? So you have to preempt that kind of question by providing basically providing an answer beforehand. These are kind of the same point. You can combine them. Everything else, the number one question people are going to ask is, how does that compare to the industry standard? Why are you doing this? Why can't you just use an existing library? And also keep in mind, right now, all of these are like very specifically about encryption, right? Your last point is more about the actual password manager part. And so if you're only going to have one point here that talks about password manager, like and it didn't even say the password manager, like all I said is about modular code. You're going to have one point here that's not about cryptography. Consider either rebranding this point to be specifically about implementing cryptography libraries, or separate these two out, or make this a side point and make the bulk of the facts here about the actual non-cryptography functionality. Right now it's a bit awkward. It's kind of in the middle, so it's a bit weird to read. Also, you're missing a space here. Travel text plot person project designed a, and also if all three are person projects, you can just get rid of that, right? Design a Python based. What does Python based mean? Is it in Django? Python-based travel assistant application that utilizes transportation APIs to calculate and provide estimated times of arrival for predefined destinations. Okay, this is a good intro point. This is a good intro point. Okay, hold on. Let me read it again. Okay. Yeah, no, I think this makes sense. The only question here is like using the word Python based is really weird. Like, why don't you just say the exact technology used here? Is it just Python? Is it Python plus something else? So be aware of that. Okay. Because this it's a good point that summarizes the functionality, but I don't actually like, what does Python based mean, right? The system leverages real-time traffic data demonstration to work with intense data streams and assign geographic. Okay, so I would say a couple of things here. Again, right, show don't tell. So you're saying two things here. First thing is real-time traffic data. Work with time-sensitive data streams. Well, how are you working with them, right? Like, you're not saying how. Like, you're saying that I have worked with it, but how like, what are they going? Are you using, like, for example, Timber data streams? Are you using CloudWatch? Are you using what else is there? Is that Splunk, right? And also the same thing with GIS. GIS, what are you doing with GIS? Are you loading this all through ArcGIS? Probably not, right? So what are we doing specifically? Okay, website HTML to update event details, team achievements. Utilizing HTML to update event details. So you mean you're manually updating HTML in the website? That's what I assume you mean. I'm actually gonna pull up the chat here. If a person who uploaded this can clarify what they mean by this, because I'll tell you what, keep in mind, when you're in a real resume review, you don't have a chance to clarify, right? So the way I'm reading this is as follows: you are manually editing HTML of the website to like a table or a list or something to add in new events. That is really not something you want to do. You basically always want to be using some web framework like React or something where you can have reactive live updating events. So this is not the best sort of picture that's being painted here. My focus is on creating a user-friendly platform that effectively showcases our engineering work and engages the community. This is pretty cool, but honestly, I wouldn't say this is something which is worth a bullet point, right? User-friendly platform is not really something you should be saying. You should be showing it. For example, what's some ways to show user-friendliness? Easiest way is by saying that your accessibility WCAG 2.0 compliant. Engage community. You can talk about how many unique visitors you have, right? So there's ways to quantify this that are showing, not telling. This is fine. Okay, skills wise, this is the first one is all fine, but the way I would personally frame this is I would get rid of all of these, get rid of this, split this out into programming languages, and then so separate programming languages and tools. Seeing like this in the same category as like this is not like super there, right? So it's worth separating out. A lot of stuff to work on. I'd say, first of all, right, you're going for what? Cybersecurity. What did you say? Where's my spreadsheet? Here it is. Cybersecurity, network engineering. So first of all, network engineering, I see no network related projects here. I don't see any network projects. So if you want to go there, obviously you got to get some experience, right? Cybersecurity, I see this, right? I see this. If you're going for this, I'd say you definitely need to shore up the experience here. There's a lot, and also for cybersecurity, by the way, there's a lot of actually relevant certifications for cybersec. right? A lot of different good cybersecurity things. And I will also say for like for a tier for a type of university that's like University of Alberta tier, you're gonna have like some CTFs, right? You're gonna have some CTFs, some community events. If you're going for cybersecurity, you need to go to every single CTF that you can go to, every single one, no exception. That is the most important way, and the most time effective way to get experience in cybersecurity, networking, and also more importantly, meeting people who are in that industry. So you must go to every single CTF. That is the number one piece of advice I will give you. All right, back to chat. Should remove general skills? Yeah, I would personally. Yeah. Are you in PIP? What are other firms' mandatory PIP quotas? I mean, a lot of them do. A lot of them don't have quotas that are team based. A lot of them are org based. So it's not really helpful to kind of say. Number one thing I would say is you know like you should be asking at the org level, or sorry, you should be asking at the team level. How does this team's PIP quota play with the orgs? Does Meta have PIP quotas? Meta actually used to have PIPs, but I think Meta actually recently just moved to direct termination. I think it was like this summer. I think Meta just went to direct firing people. By the way, I understand when people don't like pips, but the you know if the alternative is getting fired right on the spot, 2 weeks, right? You know, up to you. Like, what do you prefer? That's rhetorical. Don't answer that. Think about it to yourself. Will this video be posted afterwards? Yes, this stream will be visible on the channel's live tab after this is done. Be aware that if someone doesn't redact a resume and a show up accident, they can take it down. So yeah, that's what happened last time. All right, next one. Yep, looks good. Yeah, looks good. Okay, this guy says, I'm going for software engineering internships for summer 2025. Okay, that's a very vague, but I can go off that. Okay, so be it 2027. Okay, so you're like in second year, right? You're like in second year. Digital computation, data structure, this is good. This is gonna put in. This is gonna put in. This is bad to put in. But it fits in one line, so I won't complain. Okay. Okay. This is current. This is earlier this year. This is last year, the year before that. Currently on a design team. 2 projects. Good links. I like links. I would prefer dates as well. Skills. TCP/IP. UART IC2. Okay. MATLAB. Okay, that's quite a good spread. Oh, what are you doing? ROS. Design team, I guess? Yeah, okay. TensorFlow, NumPy, scikit-learn, lowercase s. SolidWorks. Okay, so so pretty well rounded. A lot of hardware stuff here as well, I see. Okay. FPGAs. Okay. So you're going for, but you said you're just going for software engineering. Okay, so I won't consider other aspects. So just software engineering. Okay. So integration of TPI to a new front end, streamline, centralized. This makes sense. To retrieve myself, this makes sense. That makes sense. That's good. This is good. All good points here. Design demo product pages with JavaScript, GCP, RESTful API, and 4% conversion rate. Dynamic product pages with. Okay, that's fine. That's good. I would prefer to see a framework listed here. Right? I would prefer to see a framework. Do you have a framework listed? React, Express, Node. So I would prefer to see a framework there. Manage store locator page, I'm data, blah, 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 blah. Beautiful soup, good. Factor data consolidate like a type of 100%. That's good. QuickBooks, Shopify, increase cash flow through, wait, what? Integrations between QuickBooks, Shopify to increase cash flow through fast repayments by 25%. Through faster repayments. Okay, this is a bit doubtful in the stats, but I'll let it slide. Oh, this looks familiar now. This experience looks familiar. Yeah, this is good. PowerShell, okay, This is a good point. I think this is actually a more impressive point than these two. I would consider. I'm not saying you should, but I would consider rewriting this one as like a like rebranding this experience as like a, you know, QOL improvements, you know, streamlined processes kind of a thing instead. I think all the points are good though. Merge stack, CICD pipeline. This is good. No, this is actually all good. This is all good. Blah blah. Diabetes directions. Sure, I don't understand that to be honest, but that's fine. Focus on multi-threading and memory management. You know, get some stats here. Obviously, if you can't get some stats there, I don't think there's much to improve on the resume front, to be honest. You know, like if you're gonna improve anything from this point, leave the resume as is. Work on more projects. Focus on your actual work. Get more experience there. You know, learn from there. Don't. I think your resume is gonna be fine as is. Not gonna hold you back. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Love to see it. Okay, moving on. This guy. Let's take a look at this guy's resume. Not redacted. Not redacted. Unless that's not your name. Wait, is that your name? That name looks real. Let me take a look at it. Nope, no, those aren't real. Okay. Please. Is my form incorrect again? No, it's a mandatory. Dude, I want to start banning people, dude. I'm actually gonna start banning people if they check that box without doing it. Okay. Next. What is this? This guy. I can't tell if that's redacted or not. Let me check. Hold on. Let me check. This guy's phone number is redacted, but the name looks real. I'll be real with you right here. What's this guy's name? Yeah, my guy, you gotta redact your resume, man. I can't. Wait, what is it? Wait, hold on. What's going on here? Wait, what does this guy write? Okay. Yeah, this is, sorry, I should clarify. This is for software and adjacent fields. I can't comment on other fields like the one you have here. The guy, I mean, you know who you are. I'm not gonna say names. I'm not gonna say industries, but if it's not software related, I can't really help. Sorry. I mean, I can still have a look at it, but I'm not gonna be able to help, frankly, because I'm not knowledgeable in other fields. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Let me see what else is there. That was actually the second last one. The last one was not redacted, so I can't show it, but not redacted. Let me have another look at this guy's resume. Yeah, I can't review it, man. It's not redacted. Sorry. If you re-upload this guy who's doing like data analytics, if you can re-upload that, I can review it. Otherwise I got nothing to show. Okay, so let me take a look. Those two are old. Let me scroll up a little bit. Scroll up. Okay, this guy. Okay, this one looks pretty good. I can review this. Nice, okay. This guy's comment. Get summer internships. Okay, to the point. I like it. It's to the point. What is this? So just get summer internships. I like it. Okay, so this is December 2025, so like going to fourth year now, basically fourth year. That's good. Relevant courses, fine, one line, let it go. I would split that up into 2 languages. And the reason I do that, by the way, is because C and C++ are different languages. But that's not important. The important part is that different roles will ask for specifically C or C++. Like those 2 languages are not interchangeable, right? They're not interchangeable languages. And so if you split them up, you get a better chance of getting hits. Blah blah blah. This is good. This is actually also very good, by the way, that you list out specific services from AWS, right? Like if you're out of room, it's okay to skip that. But typically speaking, if you list out some of the specific services you use, you get a higher hit rate as well. Because a lot of times people ask for AWS knowledge, but they'll ask for specific knowledge about, for example, DynamoDB or Lambda, etc. Oh, I see. You're from Amazon. That's why you know these things. Great. Okay. Okay, so this is recent. This is just before that, right? March, April. And then this is a little bit. This is last year. Oh, just a bit over a year ago. And you have from UC. Okay, great. You have one project here. Look at that. Okay, great. So, a couple things off the rip. Models in Python. $10 million in running transactions. Yeah, this makes sense. Good opener. Automate the training process first. Automate transit for using a SageMaker event bridge. Yeah, I think this is a fine point. I would, if you can though, I think there is a bit of room here for improvement on statistics. How many models? What are the frequency of training? What is the outcome of training? These are things I think that you can toss in here, if you have those numbers. I know oftentimes you won't have those numbers though. Design create a lightweight anomaly detection system to get seamless in existing architecture. Yeah, this is good. That's good. Okay, nice. Web app, TypeScript, React, real-time function, Tinnitus. Okay, that's fine. That's good. Developed and deployed backend service, a backend system to process over 130K and 10 payments, integrating PayPal, Stripe. Yeah, this is good. I would shout out to technology, like what is being used here, like Node, Django, Spring, etc. I would personally put that in. MongoDB track attending information CSV export feature to make data management easier. Recent work for 17. Yeah, that's fine. Joint well caps. Develop and integrate a new product file. Significantly improving product search efficiency. If you significantly is a strong adjective, right? So if you can quantify that, I would say put in what you can. Marketing product trio using closer time 2 minutes comparison to previous systems. This is a good point, but I will say that this 2 minute, like reducing by 2 minutes is a relative measure, and so I would put in 2 minutes from X system or 2 minutes from Y system. So I would provide the previous point of comparison because you're on two lines anyways, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because Lambda still depends on language, but Lambda still does have a cold start time, right? Like if you're using JVM on Lambda, you're still hitting like 10 seconds, right? Still 10 seconds. Well, okay, by 2 minutes, oh my goodness, if you're hitting 2 minutes reduction, that's still really good, but keep that in mind, right? So just because you're on Lambda doesn't mean there's no cold start. That's what they have hotspot, right? Leverage CloudFront optimizing, that's fine, okay. QA stuff, blah, 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 that's fine, okay. So let's look at this experience. Or this project rather, Pinit. React, TypeScript, MongoDB, interactive full stack web app with React and TypeScript display UBC related advanced for students. Okay. Interactive full stack web app. Okay, TypeScript, React. I like that. Okay. I will say right at this, like just off the bat, you said full stack, but these are both front end technologies. So if you want to say full stack, you got to put Node in there, or like Supabase or something, right? So so this isn't the back end yet. So I have to see what that is. CD pipelines, code pipeline of deployment. That's fine. That's good. This is fine. So just some small feedback, small bits of feedback on the on the wording, but I think the content is actually really quite it's there. I think it's fine. I think it's totally there. Yeah, I think it's there. Okay, that was the last resume, I think. A question mark. Where is it? Let me just. I'll refresh this one more time. If no one else is here, that's it. Yep, that's it. That's all there is. I'll give people like a couple more minutes to kind of add it in. Otherwise I'm not gonna wait around. Oh yeah, I forgot to answer this guy's question. I mean, I don't know if this FR guy's still in the chat, but I will say yeah, Meta does have pip quotas. A lot of the other companies also do have pips. A couple ones off the top of my head. By the way, these are all public information, right? Like these things are super big. You can just search online and it's like super. It's just not a secret at all, right? A couple ones I know also is that PayPal I believe has them. Amazon obviously. Capital. I know a lot of fintech has one. Capital One I think does. Capital One I think actually Capital One has a higher pip quota than Amazon does, I believe. I think it's like 10 to like 15% or something. It's pretty large. I think Atlassian has one. I'm not sure if Uber does. I don't think Uber does. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like there are a bunch. Usually speaking though, I would like you shouldn't really be like the thing about pip culture is that people get pipped not randomly, right? Like it's not a random thing. Usually, for companies like Amazon, and I know for things like Capital One, pip is just a way to say that hey, we're gonna fire you anyways. Um, Here's 3 months time to find a job, right? And so if you view pip as a thing of oh I'm gonna get back in, I'm gonna redeem myself, that's unlikely. That's unlikely. But if you instead view pip as like like what we call a paid interview practice, then it's a lot more. It's just how it is, right? So if you can get fired anyways, it's better off that there is a pip thing. It does not let me upload a PDF resume. Yes, I do not accept PDF uploads because they can have questionable things in them. So you should upload a PNG instead or a JPEG. You can take a screenshot. You can export as PNG. A lot of ways to do it. I'll give you 3 minutes to figure it out. I'll give you three. Yeah. Ever since PDFs got compromised, I stopped accepting them. And I recommend most people to also not download PDFs unless they're from a trusted source, because I've seen some bad stuff happen. Don't want to get caught. Cool. I see one here. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Let's do it. Looks good. Okay, so your note is looking for internships, mostly back end. Okay, short and sweet. Sure. So back end internships. Okay, so what are you? 2027. So like second year kind of area. Second year, third year now. Should be going to third year now, right? Yeah. Relevant coursework. Um. Yeah, but there's a clean extra course. Okay. This is not relevant. This is definitely not relevant. Um, Other things you can keep on. Excuse me. Because you've only got one experience, I think it's okay to keep one line for relevant coursework. So this is present. This is ongoing. Projects, one ongoing. This is more than a year ago. This is a year ago. This is a year ago. That's a year ago. Okay. So you have a large ongoing project, right? And then everything else is relatively short term, like 4 months kind of thing. Okay, let's take a look. Experience. Okay. To develop full stack Ruby on Rails distance for assignment. Okay. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Refactor file loading logic. Utilize WebAssembly to optimize React components for display PDF. Refactor file loading logic. Utilize WebAssembly to optimize. Okay. Code binary files. Okay, I like that. That's good. Increase size limit for post to large facility. Yeah, that makes sense too. Okay, yeah, I think this is fine. This is fine. I think this is one of those things where you should be like you should try to get in the driver's seat and seek out work that's impactful, so you can put it on here. What I know oftentimes, I'm not saying this is the case for you obviously, but I know oftentimes, especially for like jobs within the university itself, it can be hard to find points to put on. Yeah, I think most people understand that. So yeah, do the best you can. Okay, so back end focus, right? Back end focus. This is your big project. This is everyone can tell this is long ago. This has been 3 years already, right? 3 years project. Let's take a look at what we got. So Python, C++, React, machine learning. Okay, so it's a bit weird to say machine learning. If you have like technologies here, if anything, you should put in like the specific things. Like I don't know, what do you have here? You have scikit-learn, right? So scikit-learn, for example. High performance financial analysis tool for online auction marketplace, C++, Python. Okay. Financial analysis tool for. Okay, I like that. Okay, that's good. High traffic React web interface for 100,000 users. 32,000 paid accounts. Okay. High traffic React web interface for 100,000 users, including 3,000 paid accounts. Okay, so a couple things I would say here is you know, if you're talking about traffic, you got to have a measure per time, right? Like 100,000 users per month, or you know, like if you don't provide the time interval, there's no way to, you know, like we can't evaluate the traffic, right? So you know, it's kind of raw metric there. Multi-thread optimized I/O task performance and HTTP request per second with a combined size of 100 megabytes. Oh, okay. The milliseconds. Um, yeah, I think this is. I think this is good. This is good. Yeah. Train machine learning models, cluster regression, classification, cycle learning. Okay. Um, I would say, you know, one thing you're missing here is accuracy, right? Like, what's the accuracy we're looking at? What's the loss? Persistent data, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a pretty strong piece of experience that you can that you're leveraging. A couple things about wording I would improve, but I think in general this is pretty good. Now the question is, I'm gonna read the rest of the projects, but the question is, should you dock points elsewhere and put them on this one? So we'll see. Let me just blow my nose. BRB. All right. Limelight Club, web app, cloud, blah blah blah, 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 blah. This is good. This is good. I think this is a good experience. A lot of full stack stuff. Back end auth layer I think is good. Yeah, this is fun. I think. Chess Vision, Java WebSocket, Spring, what's video project feature for achievement? Oh, okay. I think this is pretty unique. That's pretty cool. I think in terms of applicability, there's nothing really much to put here. If I were you, I would probably cut this down to 1 point. 1 or 2 points. I would get rid of the first. I would take the first point, the second point. The third point I don't think is very relevant, to be honest. I think you can either, you know, combine it to the first point, prevent cheating, combine it to this point, or leave it out. I don't think this is particularly in there. Car model name recognition, Java audio input. Okay, I like that. Speak model, 90% accuracy. Kinter at. Okay, this is fine. This is good. I would say again, right? The third point is obviously weaker than the first two. Right? We don't care about your desktop app development skills and to Kinter. Okay, so if you need to get rid of a point, get rid of this one. Uniclaw Go APIs. This is a while ago now. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. This is fine as well. Blah 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 blah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I would say, you know, I would say in general, decently strong resume. Of course, the main thing for you to work on here is not improving the resume. At this point, it should be focusing on this piece of experience, and finding work to do there that is impactful. Right? I think the resume does a pretty good job capturing the kind of stuff that's being done. And I can't help but point this out. I can't help it because it bothers me personally. But that should be a lowercase p. You're so close. You got lowercase s, but you missed lowercase p. I mean, obviously, pretty good overall. Really nothing much to say on that one. Okay, let's look at this. Redacted. Oh my god, that's like barely redacted. Can I look at it? I'll do it. Don't YouTube strike me, please. All right, your comment is, I'm a recent grad. I'm looking for full-time roles within SWE data fields. Applied a bunch of places, no luck. Lines have changed when I blur the resume for review, but it is good on the real PDF. Okay, that's fine. Got it. Thanks. By the way, thanks for pointing that out. You know, that's good to point out. Okay, so let's have a look at this thing. So SWE data. Okay, so SWE and data. So so you graduated now, right? You graduated. Okay. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. DevOps. Oh, well, there's a lot of stuff here. Oh no, this is the second column. Sure, CSCD. Hadoop Kafka. Okay. This is fine organization. That's fine. Okay, research assistant. That's present. This is before that. This is right before that. No. This is concurrent. Okay. Oh, they're teaching a TA. Okay, TA. Project missing dates. I would personally prefer dates, but that's fine. Other involvements. Okay. Okay. So let's have a look. Research session. So good paper, good links. I like the papers. Sentiment accuracy, optimized data processing, password. Hours minimizing data processing. Okay. I think for an RA position that's about as well. That's about what you can do. Data wise, is that enough data wise? Okay, let's keep looking. Salesforce administrator, analyst, troubleshoot, debugged 100. System performance. It can definitely. I mean, it's half a year ago now, but if you're talking about improvements, got to quantify that, right? Updated 1 million records across systems using SQL, data loader, ensuring smooth data accuracy. Ensuring smooth data accuracy during integrations. What does this mean? I don't understand that part. Generated 10 plus dashboards, 50 plus SQL records. Sure. Authorized 5 plus comprehensive documents. Process the troubleshooting. Okay, this is like okay. This is okay. Okay. TA. Okay. Job app portal. Full stack AI driven job search platform using Next.js. Postgres built Llama 3. Okay. Improving recommendation accuracy. Right. By how much? To what? Reduce deployment time 30 minutes, 50 minutes. Containerizing breaks to Docker. Sure. Blob storage, resumes, profile pictures, insurance submitted security. Okay. Number one question is why are we using Azure Blob Storage and AWS at the same time? I know this is Azure. A bit weird to mix and match platforms like that, but that's okay. Okay, I see. This is pretty full stack. A lot of questions though, right? Like I would say at a high level, this is pretty good, but there's a lot of talking about like functionalities and features and not much talking about considerations made for like development. So I would say this is fine as is, but when you add new points in the future, you should consider the reviewer will be asking, okay, I can see why they're making this, but why is AI involved? Is this just a project for fun? Are they trying to make it actually feasible? Right? Like these are kind of questions that people might be asking. Lowercase s, lowercase p. Blah 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 blah. That's fine. I'd say again, right? Optimized data, improved speed. Quantify that. You got to quantify that. Keep in mind, people in the industry, if you can't quantify your improvement, you didn't improve it, right? If you don't know if it's better or not, how do you know if it's better, right? So you got to quantify that. Bingo web game. This is definitely a bit weaker. Mastermind. This okay. This I say these two. Pick one of the two. And put the rest of the room under here. So add more points there. Yeah, but you do have a full stack web app. So I think at this point, the main thing to look out for are future projects that leverage specific skills. I will say also that you have a pretty strong data side for a minor, but if you're going for data analyst kind of things, you're going to be competing against people with masters. So just be cognizant of the competition here, especially if you're going for like 2025 summer, right? Summer is going to have stiff competition for that, so it's not going to be easy. But I still encourage you to still try, right? And also one thing I will also say in general, not always the case for this one, but for this case, if you're going for both data and SWE, I would consider, depending how many other products you have, I would consider making 2 resumes. I would consider making a data-focused resume and a SWE-focused resume. So that way you can be more specific, you can tailor it a bit more, but only do that if you have enough content. If you don't have enough content to make 2, just keep it as 1, that's fine. That's going to be fine. Okay, that is all the resumes here for today. So not that many, end of the year, quick little stream to wrap it up. So I'll give 1 minute to see if anything comes in, and if nothing comes in, then I'll be calling it here. All right. That's all for today. Nothing new. Calling it here.